All right, guys, coming to you with some breaking news about Twitter, Elon Musk, and of course, Australian government censorship. This time we have our e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman Grant, sending Elon a please explain, saying that she will fine him $700,000 if per day if he does not respond to this letter that she sent out. Now, she specifically, again, in my opinion, again, Julie, she is trying to censor Australians and control the speech that Australians can take part in. And I think this has a lot to do with the upcoming Voice to Parliament vote. And of course, some of the debates which are happening online where Australians are more freely talking about their disdain for government policies, which are ideologically, let's say, ideologically exposing children at schools to certain things. And a lot of parents and a lot of Australians are concerned about that and discussing it on platforms like Twitter, where free speech and, these kind of concepts, which, in a Western liberal democracy is more free flowing. Anyway, let's quickly read this article from the ABC. And then we'll look a little bit into Julie Inman Grant and her dubious relationships with other dubious organizations. So ABC writes, Australia issues Elon Musk's Twitter with a please explain notice over a surge in online hate. Elon Musk's social media platform Twitter has been issued with a demand from Australian authorities for information on what it is doing to tackle online hate. Oh, they want some information. Australia's e-safety commissioner Julie Inman Grant said around a third of the complaints the agency received about online hate involved content on Twitter, noting a surge in hateful, harmful posts since the Tesla chief bought the platform last year. Twitter has 20 days to comply with the please explain notice or face fines of almost $700,000 for each day it misses the deadline. Before we go on, let's just have a look at who Julie is. Julie is a WEF alumni. That's right. Julie is a WEF alumni. She is so deep in the WEF system that she loves it. She goes there and she gives talks. And of course, in her WEF talks, she, of course, mentions censorship. That's her favorite topic. And also important to note that she did work at the Twitter head offices in Sydney in this safety area as well. So she might have a bit of a grudge as well. Who knows, Julie? Is this all personal? But look, let's see what she said at WEF not that long ago. Let's have a listen to Julie.
We are finding ourselves in a place where we have increasing polarization everywhere, and everything feels binary when it doesn't need to be. So I think we're going to have to think about a recalibration of a whole range of human rights that are playing out online, from freedom of speech to the freedom to be free from online violence, or the right of data protection to the right to finding ourselves in a place where we have
so a recalibration of human rights, of freedom of speech. She is really deep into this, right? This is what she wants. And most recently I remember she also sent the e-safety commission also tried to get a publication in another country to remove a post. This was Redux magazine discussing a trans issue. And Twitter Legal sent a letter to Redux after they received this complaint. So this is what Twitter wrote to this magazine. In the interest of transparency, we are writing to inform you that Twitter has received a request from the e-safety commissioner, from Julie herself, regarding your Twitter account, Redux Mag, that claims the following content violates the laws of Australia. So they got the post. In order to comply with Twitter's obligations under Australia's local laws, we have withheld this content in Australia. So again, Australians being censored from seeing content in the Australian context, but everyone else can see it. But because the e-safety commissioner deems it inappropriate for Australians, with under what reason she's doing this stuff, sometimes it remains a mystery to me. Anyway, this is what happens, right? And this e-safety commissioner, she has consistently gone after Elon Musk in Australia. She has somewhat of a grudge. But let's go back to her article now. Now that we know a little bit more about who Julie is, let's have a read of what she's up to this time. Miss Inman Grant revealed she was particularly concerned about anti-Semitic content and harmful posts directed at Indigenous Australians and members of the LGBTQ+TIQ+ community. She cited research by the Centre for Countering Digital Hate suggesting Twitter has repeatedly failing to act on harmful content posted by Twitter Blue accounts, the platform's subscription service. Again, Twitter Blue accounts. Now, at a Senate Estimates Committee hearing not that long ago, Julie did raise that having Twitter Blue accounts now is going to be a problem. This is what she wrote. This is what she said. During a Senate estimates committee on Tuesday, E-Safety Commissioner Julie Inman Grant shared concerns with Senator Hanson-Young about Elon Musk's recent takeover as owner of the social media platform Twitter. The commissioner said Musk's plan to make verification a paid feature would result in a dog's breakfast of accounts impersonating others, including government agencies. So we already know that she's had a sook about people having the ability to verify themselves to make Twitter a more safe environment because people are now verified. Right? Verification is a great thing for safety, Julie. It stops all sorts of scams. It aims to combat all of these type of problems that we have when people can't verify who they are by using a identity, right? It aims to help with a lot of those issues. But of course, the e-safety commissioner is not worried about that kind of safety. Any long-time Twitter user has since seen Elon Musk took over the company in October of last year that their feed looks a lot different. Looks a lot more toxic, she said. Again, this sounds like the normal nonsense that you hear from the BBC interviews and all these kind of fake news that they create around Twitter, where it's some sort of hate-filled platform, when in reality, no, it's not. It's just a more open debate, people discussing things, right? There has been a range of changes that have caused us great concerns about the current state of the platform. Well, it's a private business, Julie. But the most important piece of evidence we have is when we received more than complaints online hate on Twitter in the past 12 months than any other platform. Right? Ms. Inman Grant said that Mr. Musk's decision to let more than 62,000 suspended or banned accounts to be reinstated was fueling the situation. Right? Some of these accounts, these bans that were done on these accounts were done because of government censorship, right? We know this. We have evidence of this. Many of these bans were done for all sorts of silly reasons. And Julie is now sooking about that as a representative of the Australian government, saying, oh, we want more censorship. We want more people shut down. And it's bad that people are they had their accounts reviewed and they were allowed back online, right? See how sinister this stuff is from Julie? There aren't garden variety on Twitter account holders. We've got Andrew Tate back on there, she said. A leopard doesn't change its spots. But what we see every day is when targeted online abuse, particularly towards marginalized communities, is enabled and is not enforced. It actually suppresses freedom of expression. The E-Safety Commission has the power under Australian law to demand information about internal policies and procedures of companies. Ms. Inman Grant argued the dramatic axing of staff at Twitter reported to be from 8,000 down to around 1,500 was clearly a factor in the deterioration of standards on the platform. You can't combat all of that toxicity and online hate if you eviscerate your trust and safety staff, she said. Now, again, she used to work in a similar department in Australia. I mean, there's a bit of conflict of interest and a bit of a crybaby attitude here from Julie. And again, this is as ridiculous as if an American Safety Commission emailed a company in Australia and said, oh, you need to hire more staff, right? Because, according to our opinion, there's more of this on there. So, why did you axe these people? Why are you complaining about what the company's doing? Like, she has no place in any of this. So she's just having a sook about nonsense. A lot of content moderation teams have been outsourced. We're trying to find out how many of those they still have on board. This is a part of the fundamental basis of expectations we expect of companies, really. If you're a multi-million dollar company, you've got hundreds of millions of global users. Safety by design is still key. Now, a lot of this, in my opinion, has to do with the fact that the Australian government is having a very hard time censoring Australians on Twitter and controlling their speech. Twitter has become a platform for Australians where we can freely discuss our ideas, not be afraid of government censors, in particular government censors like, ABC Fact Check, who have government links, who during the pandemic was involved in all types of censoring of valid information that people were discussing by claiming it was misinformation, right? These people have a track record of this type of involvement. And we've also seen recently the freedom of information requests that showed the Australian government during the era of the pandemic had an integral relationship with a lot of these social media companies, and they were sending them requests all the time for frivolous things to get people shut down. Where is the accountability for that? I think this Julie lady, she needs to be brought back in front of the Senate estimates by some senators willing to ask her some tough questions about her personal grudges and her involvement in the WEF and all this nonsense that she's doing to silence Australians, right? Because right now in Australia, if you're watching from around the world, we're having this major debate around issues such as the voice to parliament, which is around Indigenous Australians and them being included in the constitution, and potentially also having or not potentially having, if the vote does go through, an advisory body. And there's a lot of heated debate around that issue because the government, in my opinion, again, Julie, are not being very clear about the intentions of this organization, and there's a lot of confusion about that. So people are more freely discussing this issue on Twitter. And there is nothing more that RMIT Fat Club and these ABC government shills would love to do than get involved in the censorship of people in Twitter. This is what this is all about. They want tools. They want to be able to exact their force on Twitter and control the flow of information. Now, if you look at this organization, RMIT Fat Club, all of their fact checks of late is dedicated to the voice to parliament, right? This organization is obsessed with the voice to parliament, and majority, okay, in case they fact check me, almost 95% of what they do of these fact checks are these vague, fake fact checks that they do on the voice to parliament to control, again, I believe, the flow of information around this topic. And on Twitter right now, people are discussing it way more openly. So yeah, that's what's going on here, in my opinion, Julie. And we can see what the game is, and we can see what the Australian government is up to, and we know very, very well the involvement of the WEF in some of these types of things as well, Julie. So I don't know. I think Elon Musk should send her a letter back and tell her to get stuffed. It's been a long time since Australians have been able to use some of these platforms without the involvement and the harassment of our government. And it's great. It's actually great. The government should have no involvement in controlling the speech of Australians. Sure, they can send in a report, and if it warrants the level of attention that's required, I'm sure it will be taken care of. But just people's feelings being hurt because now people are debating online and discussing topics and sharing information, and you can no longer control it. No, that's not a reason to use the power of the Australian government through the E-Safety Commission to demand companies in different countries, or even companies in Australia, to silence people and censor people, and hand over all sorts of tools and methods for you to be able to do that. No, Julie, we shouldn't allow that at all. Anyway, guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're liking what I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Rukshan. Of course, I am on the censorship platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. And the new alt tech, censorship free in many ways, these platforms like Rumble and Odyssey, at The Real Rukshan, or you can search for Rukshan Fernando. Thank you guys, and see you next time.